Well, hi, welcome to Dance of the Soul. This is our weekly podcast that we do every week at 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And it can be seen if you're watching now, either on YouTube or Facebook. What we do is try to talk about anything spiritual. Uh, my name is Regan Forsten, and I'm a life between life and past life regressionist with the Newton Institute, actually on the board there. And we have a process where we help people receive a deep state of relaxation or trance. And in that state, our clients actually visit past lives and go beyond that to where they go in between lives, which people call heaven or the afterlife. And we've done that. We do that all over the world with people. We have about over 200 therapists in 46 countries, and we've been researching the afterlife. So a lot of information's on my site. And this is my partner here, Natasha. Hi, Natasha. Why don't you tell them about yourself?
Well, I'm Natasha Venter, and I'm a medium, intuitive personal awareness coach. I do a lot of intuitive work, and the reason why I'm called a personal awareness coach is because I take those emotions, the past lives, Regan and I do a lot of the same work in a way. I just come at it from being the person who tells you things and gives you a perspective. I like to help people get perspectives about their lives and their emotions. A lot of people are walking around with shame because they've, lived a life, made choices and done things and they haven't always felt good about them, and so they carry shame about some choices. And I want people to know that that's not something that we need to carry. And so I like to help people through that. And that's that personal awareness part. And then I give the intuitive part by the angels, talking with angels, guides, and loved ones. And then, the medium is just being able to communicate with the spirit of life. So with that, I love Regan's aspect of things, because he does go through and brings you into, walking the path of meeting your guardians, your guides, and you get a perspective there. And I've had people who come to me after a session with him and gotten clarity about what did spirit truly mean with that. What did my guides truly, what was this image that I got of a dog with a human head on it? It's like, I didn't understand that, but I can give you a perspective on something like that. So with that's where, when you have a team, and that's why Regan and I, we are so grateful to be here. Because of the fact that we together bring a perspective that I just love that perspective. Regan, you and I we were brought together, months actually. Regan,
What?
This is our year anniversary. I don't know if it's this date.
Really? Already?
But September. I have to check. Did we go on the second week of September or the third week of September?
I actually I actually forgot, but it was sometime around September, October, I think.
Yeah. And I think actually it's the second week of October, I think, is because it's right after Labor Day that we started out. And I once we started communicating, it was like we just went into click into fifth gear of a car and of the 5 gears, and we've been great ever since.
By really fast, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, yeah, we just want people to know out there that they're not alone, that they're actually an immortal soul. There's so much, we have proof after proof after proof now that there is an afterlife, and that you're not born out of happenstance, that you actually chose to be incarnated, and you chose the people in your life to learn different experiences, although you may be cursing yourself that you did make these choices, because sometimes it's very difficult. But I think, the souls that are here on in our realm, from all the research we've done, are very brave souls. In other words, they came down sometimes to learn tough lessons, because they knew from the higher perspective that it's like signing up for a really hard course in college that is going to be tough, and you're going to be pulling your hair out to learn, but you really want to learn it. So you just, bite the bullet, go and sign up for the course, and you're in the middle of the course and you're thinking, what was I thinking? And this is too hard, but you just stay in there and you learn the lessons, and then you graduate and you're so happy that you stuck with it. You know, you're so glad you didn't quit. And then you realize all that you learned in that life, you know, to have a success. What we found out in the research is, you know, you would think that because we come from heaven, which is our true home, or, you know, that's where we're created, and then we come down here for experience. You think it would be all easy going because we have such a bigger viewpoint coming from the other side. And I know a lot of souls, when they get down here and they realize, you know, with the walls shut off and they kind of forget what they're down here for, and they really get into the human emotions and feelings. And it's a lot of them want to quit. And so some people have, you know, partial success in their mission. Other people do really great. But I know we've had people, souls on the other side, that when they get before the council, they're just like, you know, like I could have done so much more. You know,
I could have VA. I could have done.
Why was I playing video games half my life? You know,
exactly.
Course, that might have, maybe they came down here to do that. I mean, I don't know. It's crazy. But we wanted to talk today about transitions because so many people, everybody knows someone right now that's going through transition because of COVID. You know, they're changing jobs, they're changing friends. Sometimes they found out that the people that they're with, they can't live with because they've been with them 24/7 for months on end. And some people have chose to leave relationships. So what do you think, Natasha? Because I think the hardest thing is sometimes like when like people that with this transition with COVID, and all of a sudden they decided, you know what, I'm not going back to that dumb job that I had, you know, but they don't know where they're going. They have to, like, it's a scary place to be, you know.
Yes, it is.
And how do you, you know, I guess all I can say is people just have to trust, and you have to start moving forward, even in a little tiny step. And that momentum kind of gets you to where you're going to go. But if you just stay and you don't do anything, you don't do any research, you don't do anything, what can you expect? You know, you're going to have problems.
Exactly. And that's the thing is that, you know, we talked about what we want to talk about last week, and we both talked about, you know, transitions would be good, you know, because I know that yeah, it is about transitioning, and people freak out sometimes about that, pre-thinking what transition is going to be like. And how do you know what the future is going to be? How do you know what things are going to happen? And I'm going to kind of take a little commercial here. Did you give somebody our link?
Oh, yeah. Oh. I said it. That's yeah, that's someone I know, and he's maybe just watching. Okay.
Because his camera's off, so I just wanted to make sure, because I didn't want to click on, you know. So yeah. Yeah,
someone I told about the show. It's a client of mine, and he didn't want to be on the show, but you know, that's right. Instead of telling him to go to Facebook, and I just sent him the link.
You're good. You're good. I just wanted to make sure. Okay. So now that we're clear. So there again is a moment where we were going to have an all of a sudden transition.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's the thing about when we're doing things and navigating things. Sometimes we just got to communicate. You know, we always, you know, a lot of this when we're going into transitions, job changes, new pets, our relationships changing, some friends are leaving, some marriages are splitting up, some new relationships are coming in, and we forget to communicate.
How do you mean, like communicate? I mean,
communicate. It's like me stopping and saying, just a minute here, you know, did you give somebody a link? You know, because that helps with the transition. Like for me, when I was transitioning my job that I do extra than this, that I needed more hours in my personal life to do this wonderful gift that I have of doing sessions and that kind of thing. And I communicated with my principal, you know, hey, this is what I was thinking. I started it last year. And then this year I kind of said, this is going to happen. And he tried to tell me, yeah, it's not going to happen. I said, yeah. How can we work this out together? How can we make this better for the both of us? Because it's not necessarily that I'm right, and it's not about you being right. And actually, my newsletters about is how to get other people's perspectives. That, as we're going through things, that many times we go through transitions trying to keep it all in our heads, all in our knowings, and our knowings start spinning the negative talk. And communication, even if, like, I tell my spouse, my husband, can I just talk this out for a little bit just to get it out of my head? Because that transition was going to be kind of bumpy, and I didn't know how I wanted to play it out necessarily, but I needed to at least have somebody who I can just kind of reference something from.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm just wondering now, my clients are just listening. It's funny, we're talking about this subject because that's exactly what he's going through right now, is change in relationships, change in, friends, change in job, change in place where he lives, everything that's that way. If I was to just, because this would be people watching too, so they understand how mediums work and everything like that. But if I was just to give you his first name or something, would you pick up something?
I can.
But he also likes to be called another name that he goes by, but he was born with a certain name. So do you need the name he was born with, or the name that he chooses to call himself?
And I'm getting a feeling, though, he's feeling kind of vulnerable about this. So I don't like to necessarily give people I need his verbal okay for this.
Okay. Well,
and I'm getting that hesitancy, and I honor people that way. But what we can do is that maybe if you know something in generality, because we got an hour show here that we can pull a couple of information in that maybe support.
What about something general, like I think one thing that he's working on now is where's he going to work next? And he's got a lot of skills. He's a great, he's I've known him for a while, and he's a very heartfelt person, very loving and kind. He wants to do something for others, but he was stuck in a kind of job where he couldn't. It was more corporate. It was like,
I get it. And so this is what I would suggest for anybody right now going through a big transition. And what I'm hearing from the angels and personal guides, that as we're going through this, make a list.
Make a list.
And I'm hearing this for pretty much anybody going through a transition. Make a list, because of the fact that, let's say for me being a housewife, there for a while I was a housewife. Okay, so a housewife, I can clean house. Okay, but I'm going to put that down. I can clean house. Oh, wait a minute. Manage situations.
Oh yeah, which housewives do, right?
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. I can understand paperwork. So you start putting down some of the lists that wait a minute. My friends always tell me I should be a counselor. So with that, putting up, some of the things that I can interact with other people's emotions well. I know how to work with people. I've had friends actually told me I should become a counselor. So I could put that necessarily in my resume, but it may be a job interview, that you start putting these lists of what things have been. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. I've been told that I can actually I'm very crafty about things. So with that, instead of saying, like, if you're going into doing something, instead of saying I'm crafty about something, you'd say, well, I'm able to put things together really well. I have a way of putting things together. I know how to, it's not just about organization. It's just, I can see things coming together, and you kind of put in that generalness of what things are, and you put down your pluses. What do I have? And then if you really need to, put down doubts about yourself.
Okay.
Because you might find that those doubts are just wonky doubts, that you actually did something that would cover that doubt. And so with that there's those things, because we're all going through something. These transitions, and they're aiming at us like boom, 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 boom. I had a girlfriend, I was down in California, and she's given me permission a little bit to talk, but she went through a major surgery, sold her house, bought another house, bought a new car. She basically unearthed 90% of her life. we all go through stages where life just rips us out. But yet at the same time, though, if we can work through the grief of that, and transition always has grief.
Yeah.
Always. People doesn't give grief to me is if you don't get to go to the restaurant you've always wanted to go to because it closed down, you're going to grieve it.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny now, these things that are coming up, because I was just talking with my client about, he has a good friend of his that worked at a grocery place, and they opened up a new outlet and they're going to send her there. And then the first thing that my client says is, boy, he's going to miss all those people he worked with, you know, and it's like there's a grieving in that changing of all these energies that you have. It's not just a job. It's you know, it's like sometimes the people we work with we're closer to than even our family, or we know them better because we work with them all day long.
And it's never going to be the same. Once you lose connection daily, yes, you can keep that connection there, but you don't have that, oh, you look like you had a rough night last night. Or, you know, you don't see those ins and outs. And I even going through the grief process, even though I wanted this change, this transition, I don't get to see some of the kids that I was interacting with. And I can already tell that they're not close to me like they were last year.
You know now you'd have some insight in this, because I keep thinking to my client, I've never met a person that's so equally left and right brained. In other words, he's highly intelligent. He can research and knows things about things that you would never know. He sometimes when he's talking, I have to, because it's like he's way above me in some of this knowledge he has about things. But he's such a heartfelt person. And I just was thinking now, because he was working in tech, you know, before, like online computers, doing all that kind of stuff. And he's very intelligent that way, but he didn't like the way that him being a manager, he was told to have to treat people, you know, try to work. He finally said, screw you, I'm not going to be being mean to people. So it's almost like, I think he would be happiest, what I'm thinking, if he was doing something that's right brained in creating things and helping people, you know, like he's very good around people. He's very compassionate and kind. And man, if he could get a job in, you know, like in a nonprofit organization or something that he believed in, or something where he knows he's making a difference and where he can interact with people of that same thing that are into helping humanity, not into, hey, you know, technical, let's make as much money as we can kind of thing.
Well, I know one of our tech high school teachers was a businessman who ended up teaching tech, and now he's running the tech part of our district. And so because he had the brain that could keep up with a lot of these kids.
Oh yeah.
Because a lot of these kids are so freaking smart, you know, because they're, and there's a lot of kids I'm going to say this lovingly. There's some people that are just on the spectrum, just over. And so they're very good, very smart at things. And yet they have a hard time with the social stuff. Now, this person I'm not saying that about, but I'm just saying, though, that there's so many kids, and I mean young adults, basically, that need to transition out of where they're at because family and that kind of thing. And that's a specialty. If you can work with some people that way, and what I'm hearing, and I'm going to say that when I'm doing a session with someone, unless they give me permission, I do not give details, and I will not give details.
Right. I like that integrity. He would like that about you.
Thank you. Yet at the same time, there's those airwaves that pop in. It's kind of like when you walk into a door, you can tell if somebody's angry or not. Well, there's these layers that are outside somebody. And I can tell that this person that is watching, that if this person was willing to step into this part of him that is a little bit insecure, he's going to find the avenue. What I'm asking him to do is start looking out of his box. Look out of his box. And me giving the school scenario, it's not about going into the school, but see about doing, like you're saying, the nonprofits or that kind of thing, that there is something about there's a lot of community right now that has holes in them. And the jobs, the people have left because they burnt out. And now it's time for fresh, I'm going to call it blood, fresh knowing, fresh minds, fresh energy to pop in. And this is a perfect time to think out of the box.
Yeah. Well, what if maybe I'm not even in the right thing, but I'm thinking he has so much technical skills with computers and that. I even thought, gosh, if he was with a nonprofit organization that was helping children, helping disadvantaged kids learn technical skills, because I think it's just about, I think, being in the environment where you're helping, being in the environment where when you just say, if you're teaching a young kid how to get it, work different programs on a computer, and the self-worth that he gives that kid, that a kid learns this new skill or something, and you actually can interact and make some kind of change with people. And then the people you're working with, if, like I say, if they're really heartfelt people, I think, when you go into work, it's a whole different feeling than going into this New York Stock Exchange and working.
Yeah, exactly. No, and that's the thing is that like this tech teacher that I was talking about that went from corporate industry to teaching kids, 80-ish% of his class went into some kind of tech. So went to work for certain companies and managed a lot of things. Like even my kid who had him was able to support me in my business and helping me navigate through, because I know for me, a lot of my intuitiveness put me in front of a computer and I'm short-circuiting it. It's like, I'm doing much better now. I got to say, I'm doing much better. But there's that fine line that when you find those industries that can help set up that avenue, it's amazing. Personal session, I could go more into detail. Right now, I'm kind of skirting along the edge here.
Because I think you'd be a good coach for him there, because he's right in that transition. And also, too, he's highly intuitive. I almost think he'd be a medium if a
lot of people are. That is the amazing thing about life right now is that even if we don't use our intuitiveness for doing like readings like I am, many of us can use it for, let's say, if you're a realtor, okay? And you can look at a bunch of houses and you're intuitive. You can go, oh, I want to show my customer this one, and this one.
Yeah,
I'm not even going to deal with those.
Yeah.
Because you know the energy of your client. And, or people who are trying to figure out contracts for a business.
Yeah.
You put your hand on the paperwork and you can tell which contractor is more integrity for your business.
Yeah.
So people can use your intuitiveness left and right in other ways.
Yeah.
It's just that part of how we're working. And the Salvation, Veronica here, and I'm sorry, your friend left here. The Salvation Army teaching kids computers. Not all families can afford computers. This would be better and less. For less privilege. Sorry.
Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it, to be able to help? Some of these corporations are giving out all these computers to schools and things like that, but they don't have enough teachers to teach the kids how to use the computers. So, well, it's funny because I was talking to my client. He was at an event yesterday, and he had a friend that was running late as usual. And he said it was amazing because I told my other friend, I said, he's 100 miles away. His friend was driving 100 miles away, and he had no clue when the guy says, I bet he gets here at like 7:48 or something like that. And right at 7:48 on the dot, here he pulls his car up, And so they had a joke about that. And I thought that was kind of funny, but he's just, he's even studied Reiki. He does, and in the, me counseling him and when I've seen him, he's been a great client. And he even doesn't just do it for money. Like he'll do a session with a friend and they'll swap Reiki sessions or massage or something like that. And I think that's kind of helped keep them balanced because, it's in there. So I'd love to see him, but I don't know about the kind of jobs, I mean, I guess he'd have to do the research and find all that out. But I could just see him being happy with a group of people that just want to get up and be nice to people every day, you know. And he would just really, really, I think he'd really flourish in that. You know, might not be a lot of money, but I think he's happy with just having the amount of money he needs. You know. You know.
Well, and that's the thing is that there's different opportunities out there for people, and you know, he's gone now, sadly. So you know, we'll talk afterwards about this, but you know, I was hoping that you know, through this talk that we talk about transitions, that people trust a little bit more through that moment of the breakthrough. You know, it's that stepping into the unknown and trusting that we have the ability to navigate. And let me get a card here that would be good representation. But of course, I've shuffled my deck. Oh, here it is. So it's the birth to rebirth. And some people, when they're going through the endings of the birth of life, there's that little hyphen in there.
Oh yeah,
that little hyphen. But so many people through transition stand on that. They stay in that wobbly space in between this and that, and they're not necessarily making good choices about things or moving with it. A lot of times. That as we're going through things, but if we can just step over that little hyphen and just step more into that transition. And I know for me, you know, the years that my parents were passing and having kids at the same time and moving homes and navigating through life in general, that it was amazing how things kind of just, when I went into that trust of it, it was amazing how life just kept moving me forward, and I was able to navigate it a little bit better because of the way life was moving me forward. Because I went into the trust, I went into the walk, I went into the talk, and did that step by step. And I know right now people are feeling like their legs are cut out from underneath them, and that's a truth.
Yeah.
You know, that is a truth that when we go through transitions, our legs do get out from underneath us. We get onto roller skates on rocks where we can't really move feeling, but it's just part of life. And if we can just move with it,
yeah,
we do survive. We
do
survive.
I'm thinking sometimes it seems like there's several different ways people go through transitions. Some of it is where the universe just puts them in a certain place, like the company gets taken over and all of a sudden they say, oh, you're out of a job now. And then there's some people that maybe they lost their temper and punched a coworker and they lost a job and now they're in a transition. So, you know, it's like in one way when you would think that when it's none, you know, when it didn't have anything to do with something they did, like bad karma, it would be a different way of moving on than them being in a spot that they put themselves into, rather than being put in there by someone else, you know. So how do we give advice to both those types of people that want to move on? You know, in the transition, it's like, because one of them knows, oh my God, I caused, or maybe someone's got an addiction and they got fired, you know, or they lost a relationship because of something. And I guess when I say that, maybe it's similar to that, to people that have addictions and that, and then they ruin their relationships. That the only way to move to a happy kind of life that way is that they got to fix their brokenness in a way, right? They can't.
Yeah.
And
that's the thing is that, sorry, Regan, that, you know, life is here to teach us. Life is here to teach us. And when things happen like that, then that's the time that life is trying to say, look at this a little deeper, please. Look at this a little deeper. It's kind of like, I'm going to give an example. Let's say somebody has a heart attack. Okay. Now, sometimes it could have been because that person drank, smoked, and you know, did everything like that. But also, too, a lot of people who drink, they use their heart chakra, they're very heart-filled people. They're very sensitive people, and they're very heartfelt people. And they always say, I give you my heart. I'm giving you my heart, my heart, my heart, my heart, my heart. Well, pretty soon they don't have any heart left. Okay. So with that transition of the heart attack is saying, okay, time to come back to self. Time to come back to self. Quit.
Yeah.
There is a balance between out there and self. So how can we manage that difference between the two of those? And that's why I always use the mantra, what is this here to teach me? Because of the fact that if we have an addiction and we're having problems, it's like, oh, okay, this is waking me up. What is this here to teach me? It's waking me up to say, like my husband, the day he got pulled over on our dead end road, I had to drive past him to get to the dentist. What do you think life was telling him? That either he gets his shit together or he's going to have some problems.
Yeah. Well, what I'm thinking I have all kinds of scenarios why somebody would, punch somebody at work. And I'm thinking there may be some scenarios where, that person they punched needed to be punched in a way, and they lost their job because of it. And there may be some times where you punch that guy because there's something wrong with yourself.
Anger management or
it's, gosh, life. It's like sometimes you go, why can't life be so much more simple? But there's just no black and white. It's all this stuff. But I guess I would think that people know themselves when they can be honest with themselves, and they know that there's something that needs to change. They need to change a certain way, that they need to get more self-love, or they need to find a way to, get help for their addiction. I mean, I have one client, he's been in rehab 8 times, and he just wanted to give it all up. But I said, well, look at this, you keep trying, that's a good thing. He didn't just give it up, and he keeps just going back, after something bad will happen. And I'm thinking, matter of fact, this is a great story, and it gets me all emotional. There was a place in LA that I would play poker at, that was kind of an illegal game, but it's at a place there that this guy has a little shop, and the local police know all about everything. It's just guys getting together, playing poker, a couple times a week. But this guy was living in this, the owner of there was an ex-addict, and he knows he tries to help other addicts and things. So he let this guy sleep there, So this person, I'm going to call him John. Okay. So John got a bad batch of something, and he became violent, and they had to, and they thought he was going to die. So they took him to the hospital. He punched the doctor. It was awful. He finally got out of there. He felt so bad because he's a nice person. And here he was, of
the drugs. Yeah.
He could have killed the physician, and so that got him to a low point, and he knew I was a therapist there. So he said, maybe I need some help. So we scheduled an appointment, and he canceled it, and then one night, I happened to be going by there. I saw the light on in there. They weren't having a poker game. I said, let me go to stop in there. And he was the only one there. And we just had a nice talk for like an hour. And I got to kind of get to know him. And that's how I found out about the 8 times that he'd been there and everything. And he said the last time he was there, he was up on top of this mountain, and he felt a connection with God for the first time. And he went back and wrote a poem. It was called God is Looking for Some Place to Abide, some place to live, like in a person, and he wrote this poem, and it was and he says, I'll give you a copy of it. So he knew it by heart still, even though he wrote it all down. I read it, and it was very moving, and he gave me a copy, So we had another appointment. I went to go see it, and he broke parole on something. He had to go back to jail for a few days. So I got the feeling I was 300 miles away, but I was going to be in there. I said, well, I'll look him up when I get back to LA. And as I'm getting there, I get this thing. It says, you know what? I still have this poem here. So I thought, I got to find a printer here. I'm going to print this. I'm going to put it in a frame and give it to him, so that he can have it, put it on his wall. So right across the street from this poker place is a printing place. As I drove by, I went, oh, this is neat. And I went in there. I was the only person in there. I told the man what I was doing. He found a frame. He helped me frame it. We made it, put it on nice paper, printed on nice paper, put it in there. And so this whole time, no one's there but me and the framer. And he did that. He didn't even charge me for it. So I walk out, I get in my van, and I'm making some last minute adjustments to there. And there's a knock on my window. And guess who? On my car window. And it was him. He had just gotten out of jail. He was just going back there at the exact same moment that I had to cry, because I went, this is so heavenly, you know?
Yeah. Divinely, that's what synchronicity is. It's that universal aha moment.
Like I had that intuitiveness to follow that just says, and he cried, you know, when I gave him the thing and everything. So I haven't seen him since. It's been a few years and I don't know what's happened, but I know that moment somehow was something we both needed, you know? So anybody listening, you probably have stories like that, of this synchronicity, of this thing when you have this open heart and you decide to do something for somebody, you know, and how you go, you just know it was meant to be, you know. But I think it meant as much to me as it did him. That's what was interesting, you know.
Thank you, Veronica, for chiming in. I appreciate you. Yes, those kinds of stories are just, because even, you know, a lot of times through our transitions in life and navigating life, we have people in our lives that are like that, and they never get their legs underneath them. You know, they just don't.
Yeah.
And it's just a story of their life. They just don't have the thing that can get them over the edge. And yet, at the same time, though, those moments that you had with him probably helped him stay out of the deep down hole.
Maybe,
you know what I mean?
Maybe so. At least for that. At least for a while, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'll have to look him up next time I go down and see how he's doing. But and it's funny because I begin to realize as a therapist too that some people, you know, like with him, maybe he'll, you know, I'll find out he's died of an overdose or something down there. But the thing is I could really tell that he was a good man. You know, he maybe done some things wrong, spent a little time in the pokey, you know, but some people are just good, salt of the earth people, and their behaviors and things like this have to do with a lot of the stuff that's happened to them in their life, and they just quite haven't had a way to get over that.
They weren't taught better to do better.
Yeah.
They didn't have the life to support their greater good.
Yeah.
You know, like I can talk about I have one child that you know, he just had it from the minute he was born. He just had it, whatever it was. I mean, life. I went to get a reading when he was like 9 months old, and she says he's never going to have troubles. He's just going to sail through life. This is his life to have an easy ride. My second child, sadly, was born in the midst of chaos. So she represents a little bit of that chaos and just didn't have a lot of the tools. And to be honest with you, when I was carrying her, I had a lot of things I was worrying about. My mom was dying of Lou Gehrig's disease, and you know, just I had things, and so she got a little bit of that depression gene in her that's really strong in my husband's. My husband's he had two uncles that committed suicide. So with that, the depression runs pretty strong in that family, and with those transitions like that you know, she just didn't have the tools to navigate through. Now, if I was a different mom, you know, having an alcoholic dad didn't help. But if I was a different mom, she probably would have been one on drugs. She would have been on, you know, she would have had a lot of problems, maybe even more depressed than she's been in her life, you know, because of the fact that as we go through things and as we navigate things, that who we have around us helps us either to make it or we have it ourselves.
Yeah. You know, I was just thinking again too, we talked about this one time too, about what I guess people refer to it as the butterfly effect, you know, like a little thing you do that turns down when you can look at a little thing you did. And if you were to follow it all the way to the end, it becomes a huge thing, you know? And just thinking about little that's why little kindnesses are so important. Like to smile at a clerk, sometimes that makes people's day. The watching the show, I know some of it's scripted because I know I was in 2 reality shows in Hollywood, so I know even though they're kind of semi-reality and somewhat scripted, but there's a lot of realism in it, and that's the Undercover Boss. Watch that, and just to see the real tears in people's eyes when somebody who's their boss or when they get some recognition of seeing them as a good person, of seeing them as a good worker. And so many people that are working, that's what's missing in so many businesses, is they don't acknowledge the people. They don't make them feel like they're seen, And the same thing in marriages, it gets that way, that if you're in a relationship and it gets stale, and then all of a sudden it's like your partner walks right by you, doesn't even see you.
Yes.
And how horrible that is inside, how that tears people apart, So,
but at the same time, I'm going to say though that we treat people, or we teach people how to treat ourselves. So when my husband, who lovingly works 10 to 12 hour days, I mean, and he's tired. He's in service. So he for a local Napa store. So he has a lot of people and it's not always his greatest skill working with people. And so there's times where he's just kind of, well, he walks right by me. So what I do is I stand in front of him and I hug him. And he kind of goes, oh, okay.
I do the same. Yeah.
And it's one of those things that when we do things like that, and we're talking about transitions here, but even transitioning from work to home, sometimes we don't even do those transitions well. And having someone who can give us grace for a moment, yes, tough love sometimes, but grace, that a lot of times those transitions can go, okay, my job wasn't all for nothing today. There's many times I tell my husband, thank you for working hard for the family.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Oh, yeah. Did we ever talk about, I think a good way for people to know themselves, and the show that we're doing here now too, it's all to get people to really get to know themselves better, about, how are they doing in their love quotient? Are they more self-centered, or are they more, giving, because I know anytime when it's all about me, there's people that suffer because of that, because I'm not giving out the love that I need to in the day. And I'm all like, why am I not getting any love? And that's
breath in, breath out. Yes.
Yeah. The best thing for people listening too, one of the best things they found for depression is to get outside yourself. As much as it's a little hard if you're being depressed, just do something for somebody. Call a friend that you think might need to, you haven't talked to in a long time, or go for a walk and just smile at people. Oh, here's a cool thing that I found out in research about when people are depressed. It was a funny thing to kind of trick your subconscious into releasing better
endorphins.
Better endorphins in the body. And they had a bunch of students come in, and they're all down. They had a pencil in front of them. They had them hooked up to machines, and they said, now when I count to 3, I want you to take the pencil and put it in your mouth. And so they would take it and they would go, and then because the muscles went up like this, like wild, it fooled the subconscious into putting good endorphins in there. So I say to people, this might sound silly because this is a little bit, you're feeling depressed, just walk around all day smiling, you're feeling like crap, like, hello, I feel like crap, So, but see how it does that, much like what? Because that's how the subconscious works. That's an anchor. The subconscious knows when it goes up like this, and then it's like, oh, the good endorphins, send them out there, So it's just a little trick.
I like that. I like that one.
Psychology or something. So, because we all get depressed and everything once in a while, but, again, walks in nature, right? I don't quite understand it, but when I have people on the other side and they're asking they're having depression, something problems, one of the first things they tell them to do, they say, meditate, walk in nature. Do both at the same time if you need to, because some people think they have to sit and, do or om for an hour. No, you can have your eyes wide open. Just put your intention, that you want to receive, and walk out where the birds and the trees and everything are.
Yes.
And feel that energy.
When we're going through something mental, it pays to get physical, because you can't just process what's going on in the mental. You have to be physical to get it moving forward.
Yeah. I'm just saying hi to my sweetie here.
Yeah.
Okay. Have fun. I'll see you later. She's awesome.
That's so nice that you think of her that way. That's the thing that people forget, that be physical, even if it is just about walking from one end of the house to the other. Get up, get out, get moving. It doesn't have to be physical. That's, for me, I put on music. That's my way of when I'm working. I went through a very angry moment in my life. I was quite angry. So what did I do? I put on some songs that were pretty big drum beat, and I beat the steering wheel. And they kind of gave me that
energy.
It got me out of those moments of, it was physical, and but yet the music represented what I was going through. So that helped me process the emotion. But me and music that's part of me anyways. So with that, the not everybody's attached to music the way I am.
And this is so funny, because I hadn't thought of this in 20 something years. Okay, I had another intuition. There was a woman I had a first date. I was supposed to go on a first date with back when I was 50 something. She was from Russia, and I met her online. And she had to cancel her first date, and I thought, and she said no, because my brother-in-law died, who I was really close to. So I was kind of in the area. I was traveling kind of time, but I was kind of in the area, and I had been through some, grief recently and everything, and I had some CDs that I played that helped me grieve. So all of a sudden I got this idea, and she had talked in the thing that in Russia, when they would watch TV all together, they didn't have popcorn or something, but the mom would go out and pick a bunch of apples from the tree. So they would watch these, a movie on TV in Russia, and they would sit there and everybody would be eating apples, and it was so cute. So I just had this idea. I had never met her yet, but I thought, well, maybe I could help her in the grieving process a little bit. So I went to the store, and I bought one of every kind of apple that they had, and I bought a basket, and I got a nice card, and I put a couple CDs in there that I gave to her. And I said, these might help you grieve or something. I knew she had given me her address because I was going to meet her for the first time, but this is before I even met her. So I went to her doorstep, and I put the basket there with the CDs and everything. And when I drove away, I just felt like I did a mitzvah, done a good thing, and maybe this will help her. So I drive down about 2 miles, and all of a sudden on the right over here, I see an upholstery shop. Now, I had been thinking and looking for someone to redo my steering wheel because it was all coming apart, and I knew I had to go to an upholstery shop. So I thought, oh, there's an upholstery shop. Let me get I gave her the thing. Now I'm doing my own thing. I pull into the upholstery shop. They're closed, but then I see a door open around the back. So I thought, well, I'm just going to ask them about how much it costs. So as I'm there's a guy working there by himself, and he said, what can I help you with? And he told me the price of a new leather thing here. And I went, oh, like this. And I go, well, no, thank you. I started to walk away. And he says, hey, come here. I want to show you something. Here in this middle of the shop, and just us two guys. He says, follow me. So he has me go up the stairs to the top. And in the top, there was a music studio. And he was in a band, and they had just produced their first CD, their album. He reaches over and gives me a CD.
Oh, cool.
Wasn't that cool? And I wanted to cry. And I was just saying, it was just like,
it was like, you gave.
I gave, and then what, 1,000,000 to 1 odds that would ever happen. And here's this guy saying, I want to share this with you, and gave me a CD. So that's like, oh my gosh. I'm glad we've talked about this, because that makes me feel good inside. I just hadn't thought of that in a long time. But for people listening, it's like when you get that feeling of doing something loving for somebody, follow that. that's your guidance or something, saying somebody needs a hug, someone needs a smile, that kind of thing.
Yeah, because we're all going through something right now. There's these moments where transitions are happening here, and tonight in my hometown, there's a funeral for a 15-year-old young man who accidentally ran into a tree, and we're going through a lot of transitions.
Yeah.
From simplicity of I can't go into a store without a mask on, or I can't do this because I'm not vaccinated. Those types of transitions to changing jobs, relationships. And now we have, sadly, a lot. I've heard several people I've known between now and the solstice or the equinox, we're going to have a big doorway of people passing.
Really?
And that's why we've been having a lot of our actors who have been passing, and like Eddie Money just went the other day.
Yeah.
And we have these moments where these transitions happen, and they happen, and then we'll have a bunch of women who have babies. It's just part of the transition of life. At the same time, though, it is about taking that moment and finding those places of joy. Just like this summer, I had a moment of extreme. Thank you, Veronica. The equinox, yes, the equinox.
There we go.
I don't know what I said. If I said
Veronica.
that I had an extreme moment of joy down there and gratitude. And to this day, that when I've been in kind of a funk here because of just reality sometimes, and transitions are happening, and it's just been a rough day, that like today was a big energetic day at school, and I'm glad I wasn't there all day. That as we're going through things like that going back to those moments where we had that, I even had a moment where I was pulling up to a parking spot, on the side of the road. Mm-hmm. I was there when somebody was pulling out, so I was in their synchronicity of them pulling out and me pulling in. I had a car who pulled up. I was getting in the car, and I was their synchronicity.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? It was just and then it happened. And having those moments are those things that pull us through, and hold on to those moments, especially like for your client that was here, that when you're going through those life-altering experiences and everything is being pulled away, grasp on to those moments, even if they're in the past, because those bring us forward. It's kind of like they say, you don't necessarily have to be in Hawaii. You can picture yourself being in Hawaii and hear the waves hit the water. Mm-hmm. And you can be there back energetically. And those are those things that get us through these rough patches. And yes, patches are rough sometimes. I usually know when I have a quiet time in my life, I'm like going, what are they getting ready for?
Yeah. Well, and one of the things I do for my clients, even when I'm not doing they're going to past lives or visiting the afterlife, and I'm doing just regular therapy for them. One of the benefits that I try to do for all of them is I'm doing an induction with them. One way to help them get really deep in hypnosis is I asked them beforehand. I said, if you had like $1 billion and could have your own retreat somewhere, would you get an island, or would you be a mountain meadow, or where would be a place where you just feel like you just feel safe and relaxed with no problems and no worries? It's about 80% people say ocean, and the other about 15% is a mountain meadow, usually with a river or stream or some water close by. I've had one guy that says, I just want to imagine myself going through the desert in Arizona with the top down in the 1957 Chevy. Mm-hmm. And that was the one time in his life that he felt like he was just whole, his whole self. But when I take them to this place in their imagination, and then we work together to create a beautiful place for them where they get all their senses involved, where they can, walk on the ocean, feel the sand under their feet, feel the wind and everything there. And then I instruct them in a post-hypnotic suggestion to, as they're going to sleep at night, to go back to the place, for days on end, and to, build, where they're going to sleep at night. Do they have mountains and everything like this? And what people don't realize is when you really see and you feel with all the senses and your imagination, you're making a CD in your head. It's just like if you've gone to Hawaii. So, and then I create an anchor for them. We have a name for this. So when they're feeling depressed, they say that name, their subconscious puts out that CD of them being in this beautiful, relaxing, calm place. So they immediately begin to feel relaxed. Mm-hmm. So, it's just how powerful the mind is. If you can imagine it, you've been there.
Exactly. And, that as we're going through life, those places are just so energetic to us. And I misread, sorry, Veronica, it's on the 20th, September 20th is the equinox.
Oh, that's when the
shortest day, or the day and the night are the same hours.
Okay. Yeah, I keep thinking, I'm always thinking of, this is when it's reached the peak when we have the most light, and the peak when we reach the most dark. But there's a place when it's the equal.
It's the equal, and that's like the equinox. Yes.
Equal. Okay. See, I've heard that for years, but now I understand. Isn't that weird? I've learned that.
Exactly.
And I have to put, you've really helped me this week, Natasha, because when you mentioned that we're going through, for a week or so, and was it when the Mercury's in
retrograde,
in retrograde and whatever, it's usually things are tough for a week? Was that, or was it for 6 weeks?
So right now we're in the second week of the shadow effect of it. So a planet doesn't necessarily start going backwards. The energy of it makes us kind of go back and do the rethink about things, repeat things so that we want to make sure we get them done. Repeat conversations or navigations of things so that we can make sure, how do we want to do this differently?
How long does it last?
So it's 3 weeks of walking into it. And then there's the switch of it that it's kind of like it's going into the process of, now we're going to get into the meat of it. And then there's a time when it goes, then that's 3 weeks. Mercury's 3 weeks. And then there's 3 weeks of it coming out of it.
Well, when you're coming out of it, I mean, things get a little more easier to do as you're getting out of it?
Yeah, we have less complication, let's say, with emails.
Yeah.
Or communication. It becomes lighter. Now, for me, I was born in the midst of a lot of planets in retrograde. So for me, it's easier for me. And now for my husband, on the other hand, So with that we go as we're going through things. So it's not necessarily that the planet goes into retrograde. It's just a time when it kind of makes us go through the re's.
Yeah. But I was just going to say, because I was aware of that, I was noticing how I did about 20 things this week and nothing was easy. Everything, like, I went to the Social Security office and they just happened to be closed now. You can only do things by appointment, so I went all the way out there for nothing. And I went to a parts place and nobody had the parts, and I'd have to go through hoops and hoops and hoops to get everything that I needed. And then people would give me the wrong parts. And so this made me be thinking, because I went ahead and I bought that van in Arizona that you helped me find. Thank you. And I had to get an engine for it. It's coming from Texas. It's going to be put in 2 weeks. And, I had to do all that, and had to trust that these people would be good people that would put the engine in like they said, and they're not just going to run away with my money, because I sent them money this week, but nothing is like, and because I knew that everything was going to be difficult, I just kind of relaxed and said, okay, this is just going to be just more hoop, and it's okay. It's not going to be easy, because sometimes it's easy breezy, everything, your day, just everything fits in place. And some days, I was laughing at Patty about that, just saying, because she was having the same thing in real estate, it's just, nothing was easy.
It's dealing, Mercury is about communication.
Yeah.
So if that's communication with our brains, with other brains, or communication with our car, with ourselves. Now, the thing about like doing, let's say, contractual stuff, that if you've already started the process, like you starting to look for your van ahead of time, it's something that you can move with it a little bit differently. Now, if you're going to start something in, let's say, a Mercury in retrograde, it doesn't always bide well. It may take longer, but I swear this year's theme, 2021 theme, was Mercury in retrograde. So this whole year has been more troublesome with technology. And so during Mercury in retrograde, and it goes in 3 times a year. So this is the third, because it was the beginning of the year, midsummer, and yes. So this. See,
I didn't realize it was that often.
Mercury is one of the center. Okay, so we have the sun, and then we have the different planets that go around. Okay, so the planets that are closer to the sun retrograde more often. Yeah, like Pluto is a slower planet, and so it goes around the moon or the sun a little bit slower, and so it retrogrades a little differently.
And is that why, like, sometimes you'll have Mercury and another planet because they line up at the same time? And the more planets that are closer to retrograde, the more difficult things would be? Would that be?
Well, I don't want to call them difficult. More insightful would be a different language to look at the half full. Because whenever planets are in retrograde, they're wanting you to be insightful about things to work on.
Okay.
So for me, it's about communication. I'm noticing that communication is not all that clear. Like, I've been saying a couple things that were truthful, but they weren't the truth. And so things have been a little sketchy, and people haven't quite, they've tried to give grace about it, but yet at the same time, life is life, and we're all kind of being triggered right now with transitions. And so
what we should all do for the next couple of weeks anyway, if we're having to deal anything that has specifics, is to double check our figures, to have, say, for ordering something with someone, have them double check to make sure they have the right item. Don't,
And then when you receive it, make sure you have the right item in the right box.
Right. Yeah.
It's one of those things. So it's almost time for us to go. I was told to pull some cards. So I was asking, what do we need to work through these transitions with? Okay. And so Ray came up and she said, yoga and exercise is essential to your well-being, peace of mind, and spiritual growth right now. So in other words, be physical. Even if it's sitting there meditating, it is a physicality. If you're having to work through a lot of mental stuff, even if walk up and down the house, just do something to get your body moving. Let's see. This is Serafina, I am the angel of families. Happy change and addition is coming to your families. So in other words, happy change or addition is coming to your family. So this isn't necessarily about kids. This is about, if you're keeping the perspective, looking at her, she has the world behind her, doesn't she? She has the universe behind her.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, at the same time, though, she's holding a new baby. So it's new birth of ideas, new birth of opportunities, new birth of experiment. Just be willing to walk through a door, because you never know where that doorway and that hallway is going to lead.
Yeah.
And yet, at the same time, though, it is time for us to kind of take. Desiree is telling us it's time to do our research. Don't always jump. There again, Mercury in retrograde. Don't always jump right away. It's about, making sure, doing the navigation. It's like you heard about this van. You wanted to check in with it. You wanted to see if it was the right one, and it may not be totally the right one. It may be a jumping stone for you.
Yeah.
I don't know yet, because it's still being played out.
Right.
It's feeling better than not for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I get a pretty good feeling about it, but I think it represents, the van represents for me a new project, even though, because I'm going to learn a lot of things that I don't know right now about, wiring and insulating and cutting holes in vans. And So, it just feels good to learn a new skill and to have something nice to show for it afterwards, So maybe we can go do some traveling next summer, and stuff. So, or whatever. So we'll see. But yeah, it's been good. Good week.
Good. It's amazing when we're moving with life, what can happen. So if I can give anything to anybody, that please remember that a transition is just a doorway. It's a doorway into someplace else. And if you can just, and there's that just word. If I can support you, or you can support yourself in knowing that as we walk forward, there has to be endings for new beginnings. There has to be this movement forward. And as we're going through the equinox and the energies of transitions and loved ones going away, remember, call out your greater good. Ask for your support of your greater, your whoever you choose to call your God or your higher power or your being that you go to, because they will lead you. They'll lead you by showing you animals, birds, anything will talk to you. I've had butterflies in the midst of me. I had a little jumping spider on me, and I go, oh, get ready to jump into the little ideas. Oh, thank you. You know what I mean? It's like the animals are here to teach us, show us that there's communication. So if I can give you anything, please just trust the process, because it's going to lead you somewhere. And if you're losing someone, please know nobody goes home alone.
Yeah.
Nobody goes home alone. So you can reach me at angelicclarifications.com, or you can email me at natasha@angelicclarifications.com.
Yeah. And if you need to reach me, I do actually Zoom sessions, either with regular therapy, specializing in PTSD, fears, phobias, depression, anxiety. An EFT practitioner, which we've talked to many times before, which is really helps for regular therapy. But then I love working for the Newton Institute, doing these life between life sessions where my clients easily go to a past life and then proceed to go on to the place we all go between lives, and where they can spend a couple hours there just having a ball. It's like being at Disneyland, and going from place to place. So you can reach me at visittheafterlife.com. There's a lot of things on the website to explain all about this and what I do. So happy to help anybody that would like some help. So we're gone till next week at 4, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly how the topic will be, but it's life. So we could talk about the same topic every week and look at it differently,
I know, exactly. Thank you, Regan, for doing this with me.
You're welcome.
And please, if you are on YouTube or Facebook, please like this page or do something to support this process, because as we come through, and we're here every Monday at 4 Pacific time.
4 o'clock, yeah.
I got tongue-tied all of a sudden. My love to everyone and blessings to you, and we'll see you next week, which is our birthday next week.
Okay, we'll just get another birthday next week. Sounds good.
Yep. We'll talk to you later.
Bye, everyone.